Hi, welcome to Box on the Box Rock and Celluloid, Botbrack for short. I've got a new album for you review today. It's Last in Line's third album, Jericho. This was released last Friday. I've given it a few spins. Thought I would do a little review. So who are the Last in Line? Well, they basically upon the death of Ronnie Dio, some of the ex-members were kind of reconnecting. Vivian Campbell, Jimmy Bain and Vinny Appice. They had a bit of a jam, played some old Dio stuff, and recruited a vocalist called Andrew Freeman, and went out and did some dates doing classic Dio stuff that certainly Vivian Campbell hadn't played since back in the day. Of course, there was a big falling out there with Ronnie. And they did their first album, Heavy Crown. This was okay. It was pretty good. It had some good songs. I actually saw them live on this tour. And you know, their own stuff worked well in the context, but obviously a lot of people were there and wanted to hear the classic Dio stuff, which I did, and Andrew Freeman did a stand-up job. I should say that by the time I saw them, sadly, Jimmy Bain had passed away. Actually passed away on tour prior to this. So Phil Susan was on bass, who's now their permanent bass player, who looks like a kind of taller Jimmy Bain. Quite interesting. Did their second album, Heavy Crown 2. Not Heavy Crown 2, Last in Line 2. Again, kind of more of the same, probably a bit of a step up, but nothing totally jumped out for me. But upon listening to this new album, I think things are taking a step up. They feel really, you know, organically more like a band. I think it was held up with a coronavirus pandemic, and that's probably helped them nail it a bit more. I'm not sure whether Jeff Pilson has produced this like the previous two. He's got an excellent sounding album, this. Snare's a little boxy for my liking, but it's still good. Nice bottom end, nice bass sound on Phil Susan, excellent rhythm guitar sound on Vivian Campbell. If you remember back in the Dio days, he had that kind of thin sound which kind of worked for Dio, quite quirky, and there's the weird lead sound, and it's still got a quality of that, but it's got a lot more balls. I think he uses angle, really good. And obviously Andrew Freeman's vocals are captured well, and there's quite a lot of interesting production ideas which are kind of stretching it out a bit more. Now I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I just can't read my own notes. So, opens up with Not Today Saint. This is 4 minutes 15 seconds. Just quickly, all our albums have 12 tracks on. This does. They're all about 52, 54 minutes. So they've got a kind of formula. I'll probably come to that. Maybe they shouldn't have 12 tracks, but anyway. So this is 4 minutes 15. It's an up-tempo rocker. It's catchy. It's got a cool open string riff, I think, on the A string at the start. And it kind of brings into focus the quality of the sound and the mix. And it's got interesting BVs at the end, which are good. Good harmonies on the chorus and so on. It's a good opening track. In that respect, I suppose it is recalling Dio. Those classic Dio albums always started with an up-tempo track, Stand Up and Shout, We Rock, King of Rock and Roll. So people like Dio will kind of feel a little bit of that vibe. Next up's Ghost Town. This was, I think this was the first single. Kind of more of a ploddy rocker. That is one thing of the album. It does kind of get into this kind of mid-tempo, 100 beats a minute, 90 beats a minute vibe, maybe slower. This is 4:26, but it's catchy, quite interesting lyrics. Yeah, it's a good track. It's got a double time ending as well, which I think benefits. It kind of kicks up a bit of stink. Next up is Bastard Son. This is 6 minutes long. This is the best track so far. This has got a cool kind of, I think it's a kind of a bit of a Zeppish droney riff. There's a little bit of the Kashmir, not in the tempo, but in the feel, and it's got a kind of a few keyboards giving that sort of Middle Eastern vibe. It's got really good bass on it. It's got a cool kind of Phrygian riff prior to the solo, and the solo goes over that, and at the end, which is kind of quite dark. I mean, darker even than Vivian Campbell's Dio riffs. And yeah, Vivian Campbell does a cool solo on this way. He does really recall his Dio days. So he does a kind of open string pull off thing that Gary Moore used to do. He copied, and I think he does that on the I think it's the Invisible solo. So you know, it's quite interesting listening to Viv Campbell on this, because he's done other things. There's, you know, there's the one with Lou Gramm, Shadow King, isn't there? There's the River Dogs. And then none of those were kind of success, and he kind of, well, Def Leppard was a good paid gig. Writing-wise in Def Leppard, he writes very little. I read something that he didn't even know the last album was being done. I've forgotten the title of it. Diamond Star Halos. There's a review on this channel if you're interested. But it's like hearing his riffs on this. This is his wheelhouse, you know. After Dio, he kind of went into this like, oh, I'm not into Dio. And he joined Whitesnake, and I think he thought he was going to be partnering in the writing along with Vanderberg. But Coverdale was like, no, I just want Vanderberg, and then later Vi. Obviously, Campbell left at the end of the '87 tour, so he got this weird, amazing baptism of fire in the industry. He was in Sweet Savage, playing some really cool riffs, some great leads. If you check out the old Friday Rock Show sessions, they definitely stood out as one of the better ones at the time. He went to Dio. He got a lot of coverage as a guitar, great guitar player, modern guitar hero, which he was. And then kind of things going with, and then he got his paid gig in Def Leppard. But this feels, you know, it feels like he's coming home a bit. Next up is Dark Days. There's a good kind of post solo bit on this. Not quite a solid good diss track, but it is good. It kind of grew on me the first time I listened to it. It was kind of like, but it's 4 minutes 39 again, sort of fitting in that you know, that typical song length. Then you got Burning Bridges, which is track 5. This is, you know, another good track, not great, but a good catchy chorus, probably better than the previous one. I've got something down here at the ending. I can't read, but it has got a cool ending. Sorry, my notes. It's got a nice outro solo as well, actually, which is really cool. Then the album goes into its kind of purple patch to me, which begins with Do the Work. I think this might be a video. This is really catchy. It's got a kind of bluesy stomp, but there's a little bit of a sort of soul quality to some of the vocals and the harmonies, and then the chorus has got a big gang chant. I really like this. It's kind of, it's like they haven't done a track like this before, and it's not like trying to be like Dio or anything. Not that I think they're trying to be like Dio. I like this. Now, that's it, and it's also got, I think it's in the intro, it's got uses what are called temps, an interval on the guitar, which recalls the intro to The Last in Line, the Dio track. I managed just to read that. So this is a really good track. Then it goes into Hurricane Aula. Now, these next 3 tracks are all 3 minutes 30, 308, 357. They're all under 4 minutes, so it kicks up a bit more. And that, the album benefits from that. It's always good to have shorter songs. So this is Hurricane Aula. Really good harmonies on the verses and chorus. It's up tempo, it's fast, furious. Really like this. Then we've got Walls of Jericho. Let me just have a look. Yeah, it's got another kind of drone type riff. So the track before, I think it was Bastard Son, used a kind of drone. And this does as well. You know, Vivian Camp's bringing out some of those classic kind of 80s, early 80s shapes. You know, double stops, dyads. There's quite a few riffs that sound a bit George Lynch-ish, which we'll come to. But weirdly enough, of course, Don't Talk to Strangers uses that tritone riff. So he was kind of in there before Lynch popularised it in a way. Then you've got Story of My Life. I think this might be my other favourite track with Do the Work. This has got a really cool, just simple kind of stompy, funky riff. You can hear the quality of the guitar sound on this. Just for single notes, it's packing a big punch. The bottom end, the drums. The band's really locked in on this. There's a lot of chemistry there. Yeah, again, cool chorus, catchy. On the backing vocals, you can hear Viv Campbell actually. If you're aware of Def Leppard, sometimes he's done there's a track where they do a lead vocal each, and he actually did lead vocals on his solo album from a while back. So you can hear his tone in the vocals. He blends well with Andrew Freeman. I'm guessing Phil Sussan does backing vocals as well, which is really good. So that's excellent. And then we've got We Don't Run as well, which is actually another really strong track. So you got 5 off the bat. Now the riff to this has got a kind of little mirror vibe, Def Leppard, which obviously, you know, Viv Campbell may have played that track live. I don't know if that's inspired him, but then again, it's got that early 80s-ness, so that's good. This is 4 minutes 44, so a little longer, back to the kind of longer 4-minute plus tracks, but still really good. Really like it. Then we've got Something Wicked. which is, yeah, it's okay. It's, you know, not as good, but it's decent. And then you got House Part at the End of the World, which is growing on me. This has got that kind of type of chord shape that I was talking about. Yeah, I like this album. It's good. It's a big step up from the first two. I'd say the function of the first two albums to me was to hopefully produce some songs that it could do in a set alongside the Dio stuff they do. So typically they do, I'm taking my glasses off, typically they do about 6, 7, 8 Dio tracks. If you go on the set list, they have to do Stand Up and Shout, they have to do Holy Diver, they do Straight Through the Heart and Rainbow in the Dark, and they do probably Don't Talk to Strangers. There's maybe a rotation there. They usually do We Rock, they have to do that, and they do Egypt, The Chains Are On. They don't do anything off Sacred Heart. I don't think Campbell ever liked that album. I'm trying to think if they do anything else. Of course, they do Last in Line, the title track. That's their signature song. So yeah, they will always do We Rock, Last in Line. You might get Egypt, and you'll get 4 or 5 tracks Holy Down. They do rotation, and then the other 7 tracks typically will be called probably a lot from this album. This is a new album. They'll do something called Star Maker, and another one off too. And I kind of know the first album better. I need to give the second one more of a listen, really. So they've got enough tracks, especially with this album, they could probably just cherry pick a track each on the first album and really focus on the strong tracks on this, and then have a good old Dio loving. They actually did an EP, A Day in the Life Beatles cover, and they've been playing that recently as well. So yeah, what would I mark this album out of 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. I mean, there's 7 or 8 tracks where I'm like, this is really good. There's not really a bad track. The other 4 are decent. You know, I'm kind of I'm thinking an 8 out of 10. I think there's enough here to warrant that. I think it really benefits from good arrangement production. I think they could have lost a track or 2. It's that age-old thing. I mean, just looking at the list again, I mean, the track Dark Days, Something Wicked. You know, if you were to lose those, it's 9 minutes. And all of a sudden you've got like a 45-minute album and it's tight, and those could have been bonus tracks on like a special disc. That's just my viewpoint. I like albums with less tracks. I'm into quality, not quantity. But they're not bad tracks. There is a consistency here. So I'm recommending this. I think, you know, check it out online, try before you buy, but it's definitely worth your pennies. So remember, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks very much.